There are moments in life when the more you try to explain, the worse everything becomes. The clearer you speak, the more others twist your words. The more you try to prove your innocence, the more they turn you into the villain. The more you desire respect, the more they treat it as a weakness. Sometimes you enter a conversation only to realize that it was never about the truth. It was about who could control whose emotions. And often the ones who cause the hurt are the ones who walk away lightly while you are left carrying the cut inside your heart. But there is something most people do not realize. When you stay silent, when you stop chasing the need to prove you are right, when you stop reacting, that is the moment karma begins to do its work. Like a snake biting its own tail, the more it struggles, the more it hurts itself. Like an echo in a deep mountain valley, whatever they throw at you will eventually return to them. The hurt they caused, the lies they built, the chaos they created will all come back in ways they never expected. Stoicism teaches a razor-sharp lesson. You do not control other people's actions. You only control your own response. And sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. No arguing, no explaining, no trying to keep someone who wants to leave. No revenge, no stepping into a battle you already know will only drain you. Your silence is not weakness. It is a form of power that people who thrive on drama will never understand. In this video, you will discover 6 moments when silence is not just the wise choice, but a gift you give to yourself. 6 moments when stepping back, leaving the battle, and letting karma do the work brings you more peace, clarity, and strength than any words ever could. If you have ever been misunderstood, used, provoked, or disrespected, what you are about to hear will change the way you face the world. Let us begin. Time 1. When someone lies about you or smears your name. Among all the situations that can provoke anger, nothing tests your calm more than when someone lies about you. They invent stories. They fabricate details. They turn you into the villain in a script they created themselves. And then the rumor spreads faster than any explanation you could ever give. That feeling of helplessness is real. The urge to stand up and defend yourself is real. But reacting out of instinct is often the very thing that makes everything worse. The truth is that when you chase every lie, you unintentionally give it more power. When you explain too much, people begin to doubt you. When you try too hard to prove you are right, they start to think you are hiding something. People who lie are never looking for the truth. They are looking for your reaction. They want you to lose your composure. They want to pull you into the chaotic space they created. And the moment you step into it, you have already lost. This is where Stoic wisdom becomes its sharpest. Marcus Aurelius said that if something is not right, do not do it. And if something is not true, do not say it. The truth does not need you to protect it with words. It protects itself with time. A Stoic does not chase after every conversation. They do not destroy rumors by shouting. They let the truth do that on its own. Let me tell you a story. A man I know, let us call him Daniel, was accused by a coworker of sabotaging a shared project. The rumor spread quickly and people began looking at him with suspicion. Daniel had every reason to react strongly. He could have confronted the accuser. He could have called for a meeting. He could have sent out a long email defending himself. But he did none of that. He simply worked with absolute focus, stayed calm, and let his actions speak for him. 3 weeks later, the truth came out. The person who spread the rumor was caught trying to cover up their own mistake. When everything was revealed, Daniel did not have to say a single word. His reputation was not damaged. In fact, it became even more respected. As for the one who lied, they had to face the consequences of the very seeds they had planted. That is the power of silence. When someone lies about you, remember 3 things. First, the truth is never afraid of time. Second, your lack of reaction exposes the weakness of the lie itself. Third, karma has an excellent memory. Those who hurt you with their words will eventually be bitten by those same words in ways they never expected. Silence is not powerlessness. It is the moment you refuse to hand your power to the liar. And when you stay silent at the right time, it does not mean you have lost. It means karma has begun to do its work. Time 2, when someone betrays you. No wound from a stranger hurts as deeply as the wound delivered by someone you trusted. Betrayal is not just an action. It is the feeling that you gave your heart, your trust, and the best parts of yourself to someone, only for them to turn their back on you as if none of it ever existed. Betrayal suffocates not because of what you lost, but because of the truth that they chose to do it, knowing exactly how deeply you trusted them. When you are betrayed, the first instinct most of us have is to confront, to demand answers, to force the other person to admit their wrongdoing, to hear their explanation. But here is a truth many people do not want to accept. A betrayer prepares their story long before they betray you. They have already justified it in their mind. They have already convinced themselves that it is not their fault. And when you try to talk it out, you are stepping into a battle whose outcome was decided before it even began. Stoicism teaches that you cannot force someone to become a better version of themselves. You can only become a stronger version of yourself. Seneca wrote that a precious stone shines only because of friction, and human beings are the same. Betrayal is that friction. It hurts, it is uncomfortable, but it reveals with absolute clarity who deserves to stay in your life and who should never walk another step with you. Let me tell you a story about a woman I know. We will call her Elena. She had a close friend for 10 years, someone she shared everything with, from her dreams to her deepest fears. But then Elena discovered that this friend had spoken badly about her, fabricated stories, and even sabotaged an important career opportunity out of jealousy. Elena was hurt so deeply that she wanted to confront her, to demand an apology, to understand why. But then she stopped. She chose silence. She did not text. She did not call. She did not explain. She did not demand justice. She simply walked away gently, like someone finally setting down a burden they had carried for far too long. And what happened afterward was truly revealing. The friend expected an argument, a confrontation, a burst of anger that they could use to paint themselves as the victim. But Elena did not give them that chance. Her silence forced them to face the emptiness within themselves. They had no one left to blame, no one left to accuse, no one left to twist the story with. And then, little by little, their other relationships also began to crack. They betrayed others the same way they had betrayed Elena, exposing the true nature she had already seen. Elena never had to return, never had to defend herself, never had to prove anything. Her silence did what arguments never could. Her absence revealed the truth more clearly than any explanation. That is why you must stay silent when you are betrayed. Not because you are giving up, but because you are letting karma do its work. The betrayer always plants the very path they will eventually have to walk. They do not lose you. They lose the best version of themselves the moment you walk away. Remember this, your silence is not an empty space. It is the wall that protects your self-respect and the mirror that reflects their true nature. Time 3, when someone insults you or uses their words to provoke you. There are words that are not meant for communication. They are meant to wound. Some people use language like a blade. They choose the perfect moment, the perfect tone, the perfect trigger that can cut directly into your heart. Not because they want a conversation, but because they want control over your emotions. They want to see you lose your calm. They want to see you react strongly. They want to see you shrink in front of others so they can feel a little bigger. When you are insulted, your natural instinct is to react. You want to respond. You want to prove them wrong. You want to defend your dignity. But what you may not realize is that your reaction is exactly what they are aiming for. A person who insults you is not looking for answers. They are looking for chaos. And when you react too strongly, you accidentally place your power in their hands. Marcus Aurelius said that the best response is simply not to become like the person who insults you. If they are bitter, you become gentler. If they are rude, you remain calm. If they use words to break you, you use silence to force them to face the shadow within their own soul. That silence is not surrender. It is your refusal to participate in a battle where no one ever wins. Let me tell you a story. A man I know, let us call him Victor, attended a meeting with several colleagues. One jealous co-worker stood up and publicly belittled him, hinting that his success was nothing more than luck. The entire room fell silent, waiting for Victor to explode. But Victor said nothing. He simply smiled, nodded gently, and continued with his work. The man who insulted him looked around the room, waiting for a reaction so he could turn it into an argument. But when no one responded, he was the one who became uncomfortable. In that moment, everyone in the room saw clearly who was the mature one and who was the petty one. That silence did more than protect Victor from drama. It made the insult fall flat, unable to attach itself to anything. And a few weeks later, the same coworker was confronted by others for his negativity, causing him to lose his own credibility without Victor saying a single word. That is how karma works with people who use words as weapons. They think they are hurting you, but in reality, they are digging a hole for themselves. So what should you do when someone insults you? First, recognize that the insult says more about them than about you. Second, understand that the stronger your reaction, the happier they become. Third, let your silence force them to hear the emptiness echoing inside their own words. Your calmness is what makes them lose, and karma will take care of the rest. Time 4. When someone plays the victim to blame you. There is a type of person who drains you more than any insult or betrayal ever could. It is the person who always sees themselves as the victim. Even when they are wrong, they retell the story in a way that makes others pity them. Even when they were the one who caused harm first, they twist their words to make you look like the cruel one. These people are not looking for the truth. They are looking for an audience. They do not want resolution. They want attention. And the more you explain, the more material you give them to continue performing their victim role. When dealing with someone like this, you will feel as if you are being dragged into a play with no ending. If you prove the truth, they say you are attacking them. If you defend yourself, they say you are cold and heartless. If you stay silent, they say you abandon them. Everything you do becomes a reason for them to keep presenting themselves as the perfect victim in the eyes of others. Epictetus taught that complaining is an action that never leads to anything useful. For the Stoics, truth is not found in emotional storytelling, but in what can be proven through actions. And those who love playing the victim never let their actions speak. They survive through the story they tell, not through the truth they have created. Let me tell you the story of a girl I know. Let us call her Marissa. In her friend group, there was someone who constantly hurt others with her words and behavior. But every time she was confronted, she would immediately cry, saying she felt attacked, mistreated, and misunderstood. Everyone would rush to comfort her, and the person who was truly hurt always ended up looking like the villain. Marissa tried many times to explain, to present evidence, and to clearly lay out what actually happened. But the victory always went to the one who knew how to cry at the right moment. Then one day, Marissa decided to remain completely silent. She did not explain. She did not argue. She did not participate in that emotional play anymore. And what happened next was remarkable. With no one to blame, the person who loved playing the victim had to tell their story more and more. And the more they told it, the more the inconsistencies were revealed. Those who had once believed her began to notice that this victim appeared in every story, every conflict, every trouble. Trust in her gradually disappeared, not because Marissa said anything, but because she revealed herself through her own actions. Karma works in this way. Those who use pity to manipulate others ultimately isolate themselves. So what should you do? First, do not argue with someone who is performing. Second, let your actions and time reveal the truth. Third, maintain emotional detachment so they cannot pull you into the cycle of blame. Silence does not mean you lose. It forces them to face the truth they have been trying to escape. Time 5. When someone disrespects your value. In life, not everyone recognizes your worth. Some people are used to receiving your kindness without ever appreciating it. They are accustomed to your initiative, so they see it as an obligation. They are accustomed to your listening, so they take your understanding for granted. They are accustomed to your presence whenever they need you, so they believe you will never leave. And when you realize that you are being taken for granted, your first instinct is often to prove your value. But ironically, that very effort can diminish your value in their eyes. The truth is that people never appreciate what they believe will always be there. The more you try to prove yourself, the more they see you as the easy option. The more you give, the more they take without gratitude. The more you explain why you deserve respect, the more they see you as someone trying to convince yourself. That is when you need silence. Not because you lack value to speak, but because silence is the most powerful way for them to recognize your true worth. Stoicism teaches that a person's value does not lie in the words they say about themselves, but in the way they live, the way they show up, and the way they leave. Seneca wrote that time will reveal the truth, and this is truer than ever in relationships. When you remain silent and step back, those who disrespect you are forced to face the void you leave behind, a void not everyone can fill. I want to tell you the story of a man named Michael. He was the kind of person who was always there whenever his friends needed him. He listened to every problem, supported every endeavor, and never asked for anything in return. But gradually, his friends began to see his presence as an obligation. No thanks, no reciprocal care. Until one day, Michael decided to remain silent. No messages, no check-ins, no caring anyone else's emotions. He simply stepped back slightly, without demanding anything. And what happened next was revealing. Friends who saw him as convenient immediately drifted away. Those who truly appreciated him began to reach out, check in, and realize just how much they had relied on him. That is the power of silence. When you are taken for granted, you do not need to argue. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to beg for recognition. You simply step back and let them realize the value they have overlooked. Remember this, you never lose your worth just because someone fails to see it, but you will lose yourself if you keep trying to prove it to someone who does not want to understand. Your silence at times is precisely the lesson they need to learn. Time 6. When someone deliberately provokes you to draw you into drama. There are people who are not seeking peace. They are seeking chaos. They enter your life not to create anything good, but to test how far they can push you to lose your calm. They throw sarcastic remarks. They create conflict out of trivial matters. They say provocative things to see if you will explode. People like this are not interested in resolving issues. They want a reaction. They want your energy. They want the power they gain only when you lose your composure. But there is a truth that provocateurs never understand. Silence is what breaks them more than any response ever could. Because silence takes away the one thing they want, your reaction. Marcus Aurelius said that you have power over your mind, not over the actions of others. When someone deliberately tries to provoke you, they are testing whether they can control your mind. If you lose your temper, they win. If you argue, they win. If you show discomfort, they win. But if you remain silent, they lose all power. Because you have refused to play the game they set up. I want to tell you the story of a man named Lucas. He worked in a highly competitive environment and had a colleague who constantly tried to provoke him. At every meeting, this person would throw sarcastic remarks, sly comments, and words carefully designed to make Lucas lose his composure in front of everyone. At first, Lucas reacted, and each time he did, he felt himself falling into the colleague's trap. Then one day, Lucas completely changed his approach. When the colleague continued to provoke him, Lucas simply looked at him calmly, nodded gently, and said nothing. No complaints, no anger, no reaction. That composure was like pouring cold water over the fire of drama the provocateur was trying to ignite. And after just a few times, the colleague began to worry. No reaction meant no power. No power meant the game was over. Everyone else in the room also began to see clearly who was mature and who was causing the disruption. This is how karma works in situations like this. The provocateur reveals their true nature when you do not respond. They are seen for who they really are. Malice, insecurity, and pettiness become obvious when they are left standing alone in the chaos they created. So what should you do when someone deliberately tries to provoke you? First, recognize that your reaction is their target. Second, maintain silence to break the game they are trying to play. Third, trust that karma will show everyone who the real problem is. Your calmness is your victory, and silence is the power they can never defeat. Looking back at the 6 moments when you chose silence and let karma do its work, you will realize something important. Silence is not giving up or showing weakness. It is a form of pure power that you possess when you understand that not every battle is worth fighting and not everyone deserves your energy. Silence allows you to maintain your dignity, protect your inner peace, and let time and karma accomplish what words cannot. Marcus Aurelius reminded us that you have power over your mind, not over the actions of others. When you do not react to lies, betrayal, insults, or provocations, you not only preserve your energy, but you also allow those negative actions to reveal their true nature on their own. Stoicism teaches that maturity is not measured by winning every argument, but by how well you control yourself. A Stoic understands that karma will do its work, and all you need to do is step back, remain calm and steady. When you stay silent at the right moment, those seeking a reaction reveal their true nature. Those who do not value you are forced to face the void you leave behind, and you continue moving forward with dignity, unaffected by anyone trying to pull you down. If this video brings value to you, leave a comment saying silent power as a reminder that you will use silence as your strength. Press like to spread this message to others, and subscribe to continue receiving Stoicism lessons that help you live each day with calmness, steadiness, and resilience. Let silence become the most powerful weapon in your life.